Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind. Alright, so we gotta continue to expose the fake left-wing mainstream media. Just the other day we were watching a CNN clip, and my reaction to the general conversation was that the panel conversation essentially sounded like a Democrat strategic meeting. And of course, it's completely true, and it doesn't just apply to CNN. Honestly, I'd probably argue it mostly applies to MSNBC. These talking heads, these actors, these little paid puppets are Democrat operatives, and this moment with MSNBC's Symone Sanders is the perfect example of exactly what I'm talking about. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, take a look at the headline here. Symone Sanders snaps in wild Biden impeachment inquiry interview. Perhaps out of desperation, Symone Sanders spun the oft-repeated claim that Republicans have, quote, no evidence against Biden in a new direction this weekend when she grilled Representative Tim Burchett, Republican from Tennessee, following the House's vote to formally approve an impeachment inquiry into the president. As Burchett rattled off the mountain of facts that have been uncovered about Biden's shady finances, 22 bank accounts, 20 shell corporations, and tens of millions of dollars in payments through his family, Sanders interrupted him to throw Hunter Biden under a bus. Take a look.
House Republicans, you all are saying that you're going to follow the facts in the inquiry, but there has been no evidence that has been produced that the president committed a high crime or misdemeanor while he was president. And so if you don't find any evidence, at what point will the inquiry be considered concluded?
When we get to the conclusion of that would be when we go through all the evidence. As I was stating earlier, there's a $5 million investment with Hunter and a Chinese communist member. And then Hunter, if you follow the money, he takes it, puts it in one of his 20 shell corporation. He, in fact, pays James Biden, the president's brother. And then at the end of it, you see a $40,000 go out of this account, which was only created apparently for this influx of millions of dollars. And the bank in itself, in its email records, has stated that there is, we see no business interest here. We need to be
Congressman
wary
Burchett,
of this.
thank you. Thank you so much for your time. I do just want to note that, again, the documents reviewed by NBC News, they show that the president made a $200,000 loan to his brother in 2018. The $40K you talk about, bank records that the Oversight Committee themselves saw show that the president made a wire transfer when he was not the president to James Biden, the $40K. Payments were to Hunter Biden were for a 2018 Ford Raptor truck that Joe Biden purchased that Hunter Biden was using. I don't know. I haven't heard a high crime or misdemeanor yet. I completely understand.
Are you going to let me answer the question, ma'am? I know you're a Democrat operative and you work for a Democrat consulting firm. And
all right, Congressman, let's do it then since we're here. We're out of time, but we're going to do it. I did used to advise a number of individuals. I've also advised some corporations and companies, but here I'm just here to be an advocate for the viewer. And I will ask you one last time, what is the evidence that the committee has that Joe Biden, while he was president, committed a high crime, misdemeanor, or treason? Because that is the bar for an impeachment inquiry.
Well, you have to ask yourself, ma'am, why does a vice president or a president get $40,000 through a Chinese communist corporation that has been... All
right. Well, with that, thank you all very much, Congressman. It's always a pleasure, but you just can't come on here and lie.
The whole thing's a complete farce. You know, MSNBC loves to present itself as a news channel, but every individual on that network seems to be connected to some Democrat administration from some point in recent history. I mean, that's the way MSNBC promotions work. Did you work in the Biden administration? Well, no questions need to be asked. You're hired. Symone Sanders lost it when he called her a Democrat operative, but she's literally a Democrat operative. I mean, that's what her job was before she got a TV show. And if you think about it, there's absolutely no way Symone Sanders would have ever received her own show if she wasn't a Democrat operative. She worked for the Bernie Sanders campaign, and I believe at some point she worked for Kamala Harris. Yep, exactly. From 2021 to mid-2022, Symone Sanders was Vice President Kamala Harris's chief spokesperson and senior advisor. She got angry when he called her a Democrat operative when she is literally, by definition, a Democrat operative. She would never have that show otherwise. She is a dishonest, career-focused, loudmouth blowhard used as muscle to promote the narrative. All she ever does is yell at people, yell over people, and most importantly, lie. Or at least push the party talking point. I mean, she's already made up her mind. You know, her job is to sit there and ask Tim Burchett some questions for him to respond so we can get the information. But instead, what does she do? She does what every other fake news left-wing hack does. The moment the facts start to get laid out, the more the Democrat narrative seems to be on shaky grounds, step in, interject, yell over your guest, and don't let them get a word in. Instead, constantly interrupt with your fake news fact checks. There's obviously no curiosity, huh? Nobody at MSNBC seems to be curious at all when it comes to getting to the bottom of this story. You know, Joe Biden and his family members are obviously engaged in some sort of influence peddling scheme. I mean, it's pretty obvious. So far, most of the evidence has been circumstantial, absolutely. But when you have so much circumstantial evidence, all painting one picture with clear dots connecting the whole thing, well, then it starts to become pretty obvious. Obvious to everyone except for these MSNBC Democrat operatives, because their job is not to be curious, is not to understand what the other side is alleging, but rather to defend and defend and defend and defend, to make up, essentially acting as Biden's lawyer instead of fact-based journalists, saying, oh, well, that was a payment for a Ford Raptor. How is that a defense? We all know the $200,000 was a loan repayment. A loan repayment for what? Where's the $200,000 that left Joe Biden's account that was loaned to his brother? Explain the $40,000 payment. No, instead, they'd rather shift the goalposts and say, well, that payment was made after Joe Biden left office in 2016, as if that changes anything. You know, it's funny because Simone Sanders got so offended when being labeled a Democrat operative, but she certainly does push Democrat talking points suspiciously often. And I mean like 100% of the time. I mean, turn on CNN and turn on MSNBC, and they're basically all selling the Democrat fantasy. They're saying there's no evidence, even though there's a mountain of frickin' evidence. They're saying that this isn't a story of political corruption, greed, and bribery. No, this is a story of a father who just loves his son so much. You know, that's the Democrat talking point. Well, that's pretty much exactly what you hear when you watch ABC's The View, when you watch CNN or MSNBC. That's not news. That is a Democrat campaign operation. These people are unbelievable. But what I find so shocking, what I find so hard to believe, is that there are actually people that we share oxygen with who watch this stuff and actually buy it. That is something I will never understand because it seems so blatantly obvious how corrupt and how much of a scam the product being sold by the mainstream media really is. When Donald Trump was impeached with literally no evidence and with no actual real concrete legal argument, the mainstream media said, more than circumstantial evidence, the walls are closing in. Meanwhile, Joe Biden is being impeached with actual evidence, with bank transfers and bank documents, text messages, conversations, witnesses. Well, then apparently there's, quote, no evidence, they don't even want to talk about it, and they've already presumed him as innocent before the inquiry even started. Anybody who even works for these networks ought to be ashamed of themselves. Is a paycheck really worth destroying America with this evil? The answer is unequivocally not. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, folks, and I'll see you on the next one.